We're back. Welcome to week 2 of the worst year of our life, that being WCW Nitro in the year 2000. I once again am Daniel.
I'm Scott.
I'm Kelly.
And I'm Drew.
And we just got done watching the January 10th, 2000 episode of WCW Nitro. Maybe the worst television show I've ever seen in my life.
Is it a good sign when after week 2, Kelly asks, how many more of these are there? And we're like, 50, Kelly. There's 50 more.
I regret everything about this.
You know what? I suggested we watch the 12 pay-per-views instead, but we are in it to win it. 52 weeks of WCW
I don't
Nitro.
recall having a vote on this.
What do we win? How are we in it to win it? I feel
Where's
like
the positive?
after 52 weeks, I feel like we've lost a year of our lives.
I think people,
Certainly, yes. There's no denying that. But think how good you'll feel on week 53. It's like getting out of an ice bath. Well, it's very refreshing.
Sure.
It hurts at the time. Like, this is rough. But it's going to feel so good.
we're going to feel like we accomplished something. I don't know if that's a good thing.
We've accomplished wasting our lives.
Something will have been
We're
done.
in the prime of our lives, except for Scott. He's kind of old. But
He's 40.
he's 40.
I got a new hip.
Undertaker does.
Undertaker, who retired a year ago at this point.
Yep.
Or didn't retire a year ago, because he's wrestling at this year's
come back
gearing up for this
Come
year's
back for Mania
WrestleMania,
34.
which is going to be headlined by Vince versus President Mike Pence in a hair versus hair match.
That's undercard.
I'm sorry.
I'm very much looking forward to Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns for the title.
There you go. So let's not screw around. Let's get down to.
Just before we do, are you looking forward, because it's Brock versus Reigns for the Universal title? Are you looking forward to the WWE World Title match?
Sure. Who's going to be in that one?
I was good.
That's going to be
Randy Orton and Baron Corbin.
All right.
Okay, let's go with it. Let's go with it.
All right.
This will be fun to listen to in a week after we've
get
recorded this.
Get psyched for Orton Corbin.
Okay, so this show had 5 wrestling matches
Yes.
In a
in a 2-hour show.
2-hour show.
Total match time.
Total match time actually might be more than last week, because one match went 10 minutes this week.
Yeah, we're looking at about 20 minutes, 21 minutes match time total.
But that means, and if you pay attention to what I just said, one match went 10. And the total was what, 20 you said?
21, 22.
So the other 4 matches combined for 10 minutes.
Correct. 3 of those matches were, so kind of the story of this show was the newly branded Old Age Outlaws.
Yes.
Terry Funk, along with Arn Anderson, Larry Zbyszko, and Paul Orndorff.
The Enforcer, the Living Legend, and Mr. Wonderful.
Yes. Kind of dressing down the NWO, who could not have given less fucks.
Oh. None.
The story of it was Steiner's birthday, so they got him a bunch of whores.
One of whom was the debuting
Tylene Buck.
Major Guns.
Major Guns. And also, I'm pretty sure one of them was April Hunter,
April
as
Hunter,
well, who was Slick Wagner Brown's lady.
Main Squeeze.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the story of it was Steiner spent the whole evening
Fucking.
draining his nuts.
Basically. Can't stop draining his nuts.
Pretending he could get an erection.
Oh yeah, I mean, not just
Death grip.
death gripping the base as hard as
Come
you can
on!
to keep the blood in it.
I need this!
Then Funk made Hart defend his title against Kevin Nash.
And
You want to know who you're going to be up against, Bret Hart?
Well,
Let me
tell you who you're gonna be up against.
You're going to be up against Kevin Big Sexy Nash.
So after Terry Funk, Hart and Nash are like, no, we're not.
Yeah, after
So
Terry Funk took 20 minutes to say 3 sentences that were one sentence.
He told them that if either guy refused to wrestle each other or just didn't give it their all,
They couldn't take it easy.
both guys would be suspended for a year without pay.
Yep.
At which point, both guys were like, whatever, we've got lots of money, we don't need to wrestle.
Nash-
In fact, Kevin
Straight
Nash
out.
said,
Yeah.
unlike you, I've saved my money. In fact, I'm 6 hours away from my correspondence degree and then tried to say gynecology, totally fucked up, acknowledged that he fucked
And
up,
then just
and then laughed.
So those two guys do end up facing each other at the end of the show. The other thing that Funk and his posse do, and this segment went on forever.
So
and it was terrible.
long.
They made
Pages were falling off the calendar.
because coming up on the next week's Sold Out pay-per-view, this was the go-home show
the
for
go-home
Sold
for Sold Out.
Although none of this happened, was supposed to be Jeff Jarrett versus Chris Benoit.
Sounds like someone's got a case of the spostas.
Those two were supposed to face each other in 3 matches on the pay-per-view. So as a lead into that, Jarrett was going to face 3 legends in 3 different stip matches with Benoit as the special referee for all 3 matches.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't know who the opponents would be until the matches themselves happened. We all could remember the last one. That one's pretty famous. It's Jimmy Snuka versus Jarrett in the cage. Snuka does a splash off the top of the cage, gives Jarrett a concussion.
Thus canceling and negating
Jarrett is no longer on the pay-per-view next week.
the Jarrett Benoit triple threat theater.
We could not remember the other 2. But we digress. We will get to those later. The show actually opened with what started as a tag match.
I believe we're glazing over the fact that during this confrontation,
Yes.
when Funk announced that Jarrett would be facing 3 of his best friends.
Yes.
And Jarrett stipulated, if one of them is Sabisco, you gotta let me know, because if it's Sabisco, I'm gonna stretch his ass more than he's ever been stretched in his life.
That was in fact a great line.
Yep.
An inadvertent great line. I don't think Jarrett meant he was going to
didn't.
pull some anal rape on him, but
Definitely how it ended up sounding.
this is true.
It's the wrestling business, so I wouldn't put it back.
This is true.
Everyone's gay. Come on.
Was recently promoted to Vice President of Talent Relations, JBL. Was he in the locker room in WCW in 2000? Because then
been.
there was probably some anal rape going on.
Yeah.
Or he got fired a year ago. I don't know what happens.
knows?
I'm not a mind taker. So
Your mind.
the show began with the revolution of Perry Saturn and Dean Malenko
Yeah.
taking on the Filthy Animals of Kidman and Conan.
And we thought that was the match.
Pretty good match on paper. 45
All right.
seconds in, David Flair and Crowbar,
New tag team
new
champions.
tag team champions who won the titles last week and then turned on Arn Anderson, who helped them win the titles.
Correct.
They run out randomly.
Yeah.
And then the next 3 minutes is just six guys in the ring doing spots,
Into each other.
narrowly missing each other.
And,
Yeah.
and fucking up cues.
Oh,
And this isn't like this isn't a Ricochet and Will Ospreay 6 guys in the ring doing spots situation. Don't get that idea.
This isn't even
It's a mess.
this isn't even CZW Maximos versus Brian XL and Quiet Storm.
There was
the
no
next year.
choreography to this. It was a train wreck.
How about when Flair and Crowbar first run in?
Oh.
And they're like...
Their entrance into the
and,
match
and clearly, one of them was supposed
dicey
to...
at best.
Was supposed to clothesline somebody, but
Yeah.
but then didn't, and then Crowbar runs over to clobber Conan, who no-sells it and then hits his spot.
Yeah.
And then they try to do the fucking the over-the-shoulder face buster on Malenko, but Malenko was half on Crowbar's thigh. Oh god.
Oh, it was a gourd buster.
Gourd buster, yeah.
Yeah, and someone ended up taking a back suplex onto someone's foot.
Yeah.
Who was just hanging out.
It was a nightmare. Then
So we kind of thought that it was that tag match. Then Flair and Crowbar ran in for the DQ, but then they kept fighting for a while.
Yes.
So apparently it was still a match. In fact, it was a triple threat tag for the tag team titles.
And in theory, it was no DQ because
There's
Flair
a lot of things that would have been DQs.
Flair and Crowbar just grabbed their crowbar and lead pipe, respectively, hit the other guys with it, and then
Things continued.
Dean and Perry just left randomly.
Yeah, they stormed out of the building.
They just stormed
Yeah.
out. Perry just randomly goes into the audience. We don't know why.
We'll find out. Spoiler.
Dean grabs Rey Mysterio
Yeah.
Jr., who's just hanging out at ringside. He's got a knee injury.
Yeah, he is visibly limping, and that's not selling.
They appear to just be leaving. They drag Ray to a section
Beside the
entranceway, which is a table with a punch bowl filled with water, as well as empty water cooler jugs. All on a table. It's the water
water
hydration
table. Yeah.
station, I guess. And then
outside, visible to the audience.
yeah, I don't know who it's for, right? Like
yeah.
it's for the crew. It's for guys coming to the back after. It's for the Harris brothers.
For the Harris brothers.
There you go. Fair enough.
For the Harrises.
Not on this show, by the way.
No creative control. There was no creative control.
No, or standards and practices for that matter.
Or the fact that at some point Tony Schiavone said, "Well, we're just Terry Funk's calling this one on the fly, boys."
Like they said
Normally we would
tell you the matches tonight, but Terry Funk has said he's going to
on the fly.
book this on the fly.
Which we believe, besides the fact that Terry Funk was not the one booking, that it was legitimately booked.
Sure seemed that way.
Also, this is Russo's last Nitro.
Yes, this is Russo's last Nitro until he comes back in April.
Yeah.
He does.
So he lasted 2.5 months? Late
no,
October to mid-January?
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe 3 months, depending on when in October he starts.
Yeah.
So, the long and the short of it is, they put Ray on the table. Saturn jumps off of a legitimately, I don't know, 15 feet.
Very high.
It's a pretty high ball.
Very high.
Scary high.
Splashes Ray through the table.
Yeah.
Falls over, is selling. Before anything else can happen, there's already EMTs out there getting Ray out of the way. While they're strapping Ray to a gurney, David Flair just comes into the frame and pins Saturn.
Yeah.
In the most awkward fashion, though. Like, Malenko is standing there.
Full view of Dean Malenko.
Malenko's standing there, and
Shane
Douglas is standing there.
Yeah.
And Malenko sort of just, like, gets out of the way and out of camera view so that he can pin him, and Shane just stands there, like, looking around, like, what's happening? I'm a confused man.
He was a confused man.
So, besides not much wrestling, there was also a whole bunch of... There was actually quite a few angles leading to pay-per-view matches on this show.
Yeah, but then after looking at Sold Out itself, a lot of things that were not built to in the least.
No. I mean, like, legitimately, there's about 3 or 4 matches that had angles.
Yeah.
We probably should kind of gloss over them.
Yeah.
We had Oklahoma building up to his... quest for the WCW Cruiserweight Championship against Medusa.
Which has to be the worst Cruiserweight title match of all time.
Ultimo Dragon.
Dean
Malenko, Eddie Guerrero,
Ray Mysterio,
Medusa,
Shinjiro Otani,
oh my god, Medusa, Oklahoma,
Evan Courageous.
So Oklahoma says he'll fight any woman. Out comes Asia.
Any woman who should be in the kitchen, barefoot and pregnant. And we're like, we understand all the, like, sexist tropes of, like, in the kitchen and pregnant. Why
What's
barefoot?
barefoot?
And the best I can figure is that shoes give women confidence, and they don't deserve it.
Asia, who's a part of the Revolution, which is a heel group.
Yes,
but
she
then,
was out with the heel group minutes ago.
But then comes out to a face pop because she's standing up to this
a sexist.
sexist misogynist character. Makes no sense. They have a brawl.
He cracks her with a bottle of barbecue
He smashes a bottle of barbecue sauce. At the same time, Medusa's already running in.
Yeah.
So taking eyes off of the brawl.
Running is...
Oh, she's just kind of like sauntering out in like stilettos.
Yeah, she has complicated footwear. She ain't running anywhere.
So then she like calmly gets into the ring and then just gets jumped by Oklahoma, who beats her with a broom.
Well, yeah.
And that's it. Then he takes the belt.
Takes the belt and leaves.
Takes the belt and drops the belt in the ring while leaving, and then has to go back and get
then
it.
they're gonna have a match.
They're gonna have a match. It's gonna be the worst.
In addition to that, we had I'm kind of going out of order. I'm just kind of getting the angles out of the way. We had Tank Abbott challenging
Doug Dillinger, head of security.
WCW security. Doug Dillinger
Kept calling him a duck.
and like
going quack quack.
waddling. Yeah.
I still maintain you should just call him Duck Dillinger.
Duck Dillinger's not bad.
Yeah.
He called him Duck Man.
Duck Boy.
So
Yep.
Badass.
building to a
Duck Man was a superhero. He called him Duck Boy.
fair enough.
Duckman's a detective.
Sorry.
Funny enough, Ed Ferrara actually wrote on Duckman before, which is what that's a reference to, because Ed Ferrara, new member of the WCW creative team.
Of course, I'm doing it.
So Tank challenges Dillinger. Dillinger comes out with all the security. They have a bit of a pull apart. Dillinger actually like cracks him
Gets
with a
shotted.
good shot.
Yep.
And then
They fell down.
Tank just kind of like falls into him, and Dillinger sells it like he got shot with a gun. Jerry Flynn comes out.
Tank might have had a knife. We don't know.
Who Tank referred to as Huckleberry Flynn.
Yeah.
Kick Boy.
Kick Boy,
Huckleberry Flynn.
Tank Abbott is officially the MVP of WCW 2000 so far, 2 weeks in.
Yeah.
Because, spoiler, we watch their match from the next Sunday's pay-per-view, and they had the best 90-second match ever.
That's great.
So Tank Abbott,
It was like a good one-round UFC fight.
Jerry Flynn, they have a bit of a pull apart. That sets that match up. The other angle that's kind of building up is Buff Bagwell and DDP.
Yep.
Built around babyface Buff Bagwell, heel DDP, DDP accusing Buff of having an affair with his wife Kimberly Page, Buff saying, no, we're just friends, but if I was to have an affair with her, I would jizz all over her, and you would know all about
Buff
it.
would get his stuff all over her. I would fuck the shit out of your wife. I haven't, but I would.
Basically. So,
P.S. I'm a babyface.
So they have a thing set up that's that Tenay announces at the
So
beginning of the
weird.
show. They're going to have a 5-minute
Conversation.
confrontation in the ring that neither of them can touch one another for 5
They have
minutes.
to be gentlemen.
Otherwise, they'll get fined $50,000. And then once the 5 minutes are up,
All bets are off.
they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
So they talk for like 6 minutes.
Yeah.
They go. There's a timer up on the screen.
We popped when the timer came up on the screen.
They actually have some pretty funny lines
There's a couple
back and
good
forth.
ones.
There's a
Yeah.
couple good zingers where, like, right at the beginning, DDP is like, he's about to hand him a microphone. He's like, "Oh, you're gonna need this,
Yeah,
like,
no, he's
you
like,
monkey or something."
Go get the mic monkey.
And then,
Buff pulls out a mic from his back pocket that he's had the entire time.
and he's just like,
DDP
"Yeah,
is like,
I already got one."
And the other good one was like DDP like brought up some like specific incident with Buff and Kimberly. What about the nightclub in Atlanta or whatever? And Buff is like, "Don't go there." And Paige's like, "I'm there."
So that segment wasn't terrible, except it just seemed kind of random and maybe mistimed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 5 minutes expire. They talk for another 45 seconds, and then babyface Buff Bagwell
Clocks him.
with a really good punch.
Good punch.
No, Paige clocked
Paige-
him.
oh,
Paige clocked him,
Paige
that's
clocked
right,
him first.
But yeah, Paige should have left, and it was
Yeah. But then Buff gets out like a baton.
Yeah.
Like a
just-
police
just
baton.
Yeah, like
clobbers
the
him with
the
it.
extendable baton.
Yeah. And then, like, fights him off, and then just leaves him laying.
But he gives him while he's on the ground hurt, and he's yelling, "I didn't do it," and then clocks him in the back
Yeah,
of
they
the
like
head.
beats
And
his
slaps
ass.
him in the face.
and slaps him in the face.
And
Baby
then-
face.
And then,
Buff Bagwell.
and then that was that. They're going to fight
Yeah.
on the pay-per-view next week.
As we were saying, shades of gray, guys. It's
Yeah.
big. Vinny
everything's
Rue.
down the middle.
I say WCW 2000 is a lot of shades of gray.
How many?
50?
Yeah.
Something that was not a shade of gray. I'll let you infer what I mean by that. I'm the
Booker
one.
T and Stevie
Booker
Ray.
T and Stevie Ray. They're building to their match.
Standing O from Drew over here.
It's a very Drew-esque joke that I just made.
For once, it wasn't Scott or I. I'm
know, it's
impressed.
amazing.
Yeah. Whatever. I'm on your guys' level for this podcast. 2000's WCW. What can I say?
Brings out the best.
Stevie Ray comes out. He calls Buffalo a bunch of fruit booties.
Yeah.
He's wearing a sweet, tight, long sleeve red velour shirt.
Yeah.
And like a
You
real.
just don't see those anymore.
A Bud racing hat.
Yeah, like a
Bud
Budweiser,
racing
like racing hat. That like the brim is folded in two, basically.
Giant gold chain.
And
Oh, and also-
He shoots on all the commentators and Mean Gene.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, Stevie Ray, along with every single other person on this show, had their shirt tucked into their jeans.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Stevie Ray actually, he was pretty good. He dresses down Mean Gene, Tenay, Shivani,
And Bobby
and
the
Bobby the Brain.
Yeah.
Says, combined, you all probably make $1 million, and you still can't do your
fucking
job.
jobs.
And then he just cuts a pretty scathing promo on his brother.
Yep.
And that's kind of it, right?
Yeah, Brother at Midnight come out.
Yeah.
Says
And-
we'll fight him.
Says, I'm not going to fight you. And then
Gets slapped.
and then decides to fight him at the
And
next
yes,
at the pay per view.
He does fight him at the
They do
pay-per-view.
fight him.
Within 6 days, changes his mind.
Yeah.
So kind of the centerpiece of the show, as we mentioned earlier, is Jarrett taking on three legends. Jarrett, who's wearing a Tennessee Titans jersey the entire show, because this is 2 days after the Music City Miracle, when the Titans beat the Bills in the 2000 NFL playoffs, thanks to the crazy lateral play by Frank. Frank Wycheck caught the lateral.
Yeah.
P.S. it was a forward lateral.
No more questions. Please do not review it.
So Jarrett wears this Y-check jersey the entire time. He gets into a fight with some Buffalo Bills who are at ringside. One of them
Frank Washington.
Yeah, one of them gets involved in the second match.
Frank Washington gets involved in the second match.
The matches are a singles match, a bunkhouse match, and a cage match. So naturally, we started with the bunkhouse
bunkhouse.
match.
I believe if you read the results,
Yeah.
the singles match is actually a dungeon match, is what it's referred to.
Oh, I see.
So
What the fuck was
take
dungeon
that
about
as
that?
you
Was
may.
was
Cool.
sure. So the first match, the bunkhouse match, is Jarrett versus George the Animal Steel.
Age 63.
He's verging on 63. He'll be 63 this year in a few months, in the year 2000, the Lord's year 2000. The match starts with Jarrett on the outside, Steel on the inside, Jarrett attempting to get into the ring like 3 or 4 times,
Yeah.
Steel taking shots at him with a garbage can lid, a chair, a garbage can, and then kind of like a watering pail like
Yeah.
that you'd have in a stable, I guess. Jarrett gets his hands up on each one.
His hand up well before the shots.
Yeah, yeah.
come.
Like, he
And
was
like,
like,
up.
He really doesn't trust Steel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then he decides to just leave with his guitar. Funk and his crew get him back to the ring.
They have a name.
I'm sorry, the Old Age Outlaws
Thank you.
managed to intimidate him back to the ring. While this is going on, we commented on how WCW had the kind of vinyl turnbuckle pads, and Steel wouldn't be able to do his shtick with it.
He did.
We were wrong. He does his shtick. He eats the turnbuckle pad. All the while, Jarrett gets back in the ring, hits him with a guitar.
Like, lays into
like
him.
lazy.
Blast him.
For a 60-year-old man, he fucking went to
Blasted
murder.
an old
He
man
went to
with a guitar.
murder him.
But then Jarrett turns around, gets spine-bustered by Arn.
Yep.
Yeah.
They drag George on top. Benoit fast counts him,
Yep.
and Jarrett loses the first match of
Did
the
we
3.
mention that Benoit was a special guest?
Yeah,
We
I
did
think, yeah.
earlier. I did mention, yeah. So that's the first match. Then the second match, and there are promos interspliced, but literally, the 3 middle matches of the show are all Jeff Jarrett matches. He gets an entrance for each one.
Yep.
For his like NWO Cowboy remix theme. If you count all the NWO themes, I think we heard 6 tonight.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6.
Right? This time, it's, I guess, the dungeon match, although that's not made very clear.
No, but that's what's on the results.
He wrestles...
Did they didn't
They never announced it as a dungeon
leave
match.
the ring, so it must have been the same rules as
I guess
what
so.
they did on Sold
Well,
Out.
Yeah.
because then the Old Age Outlaws come back out, and then they're like, we're gonna wrestle my friend. He's a former WWF Intercontinental Champion, a former WWF
Tag team change.
Tag Team Champion. Yeah, he took a big breath after that one. And then it was Tito Santana.
It was Tito Santana, who was aged 53 at the time. 47. 47 at the time. They had an okay 3-minute match, I guess.
Well,
Tito threw a really good drop kick.
Yeah.
And
then-
a decent flying forearm.
And decent flying forearm, and then some not as good stuff.
And then they botched a bunch of stuff.
And they
Yeah.
watched a bunch of
he
stuff.
tried to hop up on the. He tried to like
Up and over him to the apron,
Did
yeah.
not
That
work.
went badly. And then they did like the
weird.
Shoulder
block through the ropes and then-
sunset flip, but
yeah,
like
not-
Jarrett didn't go over, and then when Tito went to jump, Jarrett just ducked and like
Yeah, like when Tito did the shoulder block, Jarrett just like
Stood
didn't
there.
sell it and looked at him.
yeah,
And then Tito went to do the sunset anyways. Jarrett's like, "Well, I better duck."
yeah.
What was the finish of that match again? I'm trying to remember.
Oh, Benoit and him punched him back and forth until Tito got a bunch of punches in, and then
He got power driven by.
Oh yeah, I got power driven. by
Oh, that's
Orndorff.
right. Orndorff comes
Yeah.
in, gives him a pile driver.
Benoit is on their side. He's already beating up the heels anyway.
Oh, yeah.
But they felt the need to distract him, so he
Yeah.
got that.
Oh yes, and also
power
the
driver.
Buffalo Bill got up on the
Yeah.
apron
And Frank
during this
Washington,
match.
yeah.
Yeah.
But the other face old guys felt the need to distract face Benoit.
Yes.
Yeah, so that
So face Orndorff could
pile
pile
drive
drive
the bad
heel
guy.
Jarrett. Yeah.
So the final match in the series is Jarrett versus Snuka in the cage. Snuka actually takes a couple really good bumps to start the match off.
They do like
Off the cage.
head ram into the cage and then
He
back
takes
bump out
two
of it.
really nice flat
Good
backs,
solid back bumps.
and then he takes like 2 more.
almost
That
makes you forget he's a fucking murderer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and good.
And dead.
yes, this is true. So then Jarrett is not letting Benoit in the cage for the first bit of the match while he's getting heat on.
He beat up Benoit before the match.
That's right. He beats him up in the back.
Yeah.
Then
Benoit still makes it out.
He comes out. He won't let him in the cage. He finally gets in the cage. He unloads on Jarrett.
Yeah.
Then Zbyszko comes in.
Old men's come out.
Another old man. Body slams Jarrett.
Yeah.
Setting up for both Snuka and Benoit to climb to the top of the cage. Snuka gives him the splash. Benoit gives him the headbutt. Snuka pins him.
Yeah.
Yep. And
And gives him a nasty concussion in the process.
It's a big cage, and we're like, guys, it's not worth
It's
it.
legitimately probably 12 feet, I'd say.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not a low cage.
That's a big, scary jump to be doing on a Fed that doesn't matter this year.
Jimmy Snuka is 57 in the year 2000. So for those playing along at home, the total age of Jeff Jarrett's 3 opponents on this evening is 167.
Not bad.
Jesus Christ.
So averaging just over 55.
Yes,
Pretty good.
not bad. So yay! You've got Jarrett versus Benoit in 3 matches in 6 days. P.S. That doesn't happen.
Nope.
And we built it up real well by having the champion job 3 times
To 3 old
dirty
fogies.
to 3 old men. That's real great.
Yeah.
So in the main event, because we basically covered everything else at this point, I think. Main event, we have.
Wait, did we mention the concussion?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just did. Bret Hart, who is also riding on a wave of a serious concussion, thanks to one Mr. Billiam Goldberg, taking on Kevin Nash. Bret Hart could give no fucks, wearing board shorts and like Nike Airs.
Wearing his classic signature wrestling gear for his last ever televised match for 10 years.
Also, shirt tucked into his board shorts.
Shirt tucked into his board shorts.
Yeah.
Because why were we tucking in so much at this?
Because we were fucking gentlemen back then.
I
Now
guess we were
fucking
gentlemen.
animals.
What, did 9/11 change everything?
Yeah.
I guess so.
I guess so.
We're
Just
living in a
stopped.
pre 9/11 world.
So
Just
Bret-
the towers came down and what am I?
Why am I
What am I
bothering?
tucking for?
The terrorists have won.
Nothing matters.
Bret Hart's last televised match until that abomination of a match he had at WrestleMania with Vince McMahon.
Worst match in WrestleMania history.
Worst match in wrestling history.
Maybe worst match in wrestling.
It's quite possible. This match was not the worst match in wrestling history, but it was boring as fuck.
It was super boring. Yeah, as every report we've seen of it said, like, this wasn't very good, but was probably Kevin Nash's best match in years.
Just boring match. Yeah, like there was some psychology of like Bret taking apart Nash,
Nash's leg.
but whatever.
He always does that with every
This
match
is
of
true.
Nash.
So I'm trying to remember how it happened. Nash powders. I don't remember what on.
Just whatever.
So then Bret's kind of in control. He's got a chair. Did
No,
Nash?
Nash put the chair in the ring. He was about to get in the ring,
Yeah.
and Anderson ran down and blasted him with the fake
with the pipe.
For the second week in a
for
row.
the second week in a row.
Last
Then gets him a couple more times on the floor, and then sends Lil Nate to the back and says, "I'm fucking running this shit now."
Yeah. So then Bret's in the ring with a chair. We see Sid running out from the corner of our eye. This is the first mention of Sid, who is in fact
The world
challenging
title challenger on Sunday.
for the pay-per-view.
Gotta say, Sid got in the ring real fast.
He did. He also had a sweet white sneaker and jean
Yeah.
look. I dug it.
No shirt.
He gets in the ring.
Benoit was also wearing some really nice light jeans all night with his ref shirt tucked into them.
He boots the chair into Hart's face.
Okay, Dave.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Easy, big fella.
When we use the term boot,
We use the term boots and chair.
A foot was put up. A chair was slowly guided to a face.
Sure.
That was about it.
To be fair, Bret Hart is still suffering the effects.
So Bret Hart still is suffering from pudding head.
Judging
Yeah.
by what happens after that, it shouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, no, it really doesn't matter because then he proceeds to get a choke slam.
and at this point,
While the cage
is going
lowers.
down.
This is right.
For no reason.
The cage is lowering, I guess, to keep out the NWO.
Who aren't even
so-
attempting to run down.
Oh, so that's the other thing. Jarrett has just gotten his ass kicked by 3 old men.
And has a legit concussion now.
Nash is on the
Nash
floor.
is on the floor selling.
We didn't say what's happening
We
to
didn't
Steiner.
mention Scott Steiner is in the back. He's been fucking all night, and like he's by this point we've seen he's basically dead.
Because it's his birthday.
It's his birthday,
Yeah.
and we've seen I think it's the 3rd set of women who are trying to take him, and
Yeah.
he's just like, I guess so.
guess that's
But
fucking hell.
regardless, we still see the old Age Outlaws handcuffing him,
Yeah.
then dumping champagne on his head to, I guess, open his mouth.
Yeah, that's how it works.
And
Yeah,
then
because Funk wanted to make good on his promise.
Yes.
To wash his mouth that was soap, and he said, "Open your mouth." And Steiner said, "Mmm." And then they dumped champagne on him, and it made him go, "Ah, champagne."
And then they honest to God legit shoved a bar of soap in
The
his
whole
mouth.
thing.
And
The whole fucking
like,
bar just-
and like sudsed it up.
Oh, yeah.
Mashed it in there.
It
Yeah.
looked disgusting.
Like just a big old bar of Irish Spring all the way in his mouth.
So the NWO is basically moot at this point. Like
Yeah.
they're a non-factor.
They're the Moot World Order.
But as that like, and then when the whole cage thing is happening,
Yeah.
Terry Funk comes out with a flaming branding iron and then brands
Kevin Nash.
Kevin
on the
Nash.
floor.
Yes.
But anyway, so what I believe it ends with a power bomb.
Yes.
A power bomb on a pudding head Bret Hart.
After a choke slam on a
After a
pony,
choke slam.
after a big boot into a chair.
And power bombs him, pins him for
And-
whatever.
Oh yeah,
it is.
and
Arn Anderson counts the pin.
Counts the pin.
And like
wasn't a
as
match.
soon as the 3 count hit, the cage finished lowering.
Yeah.
Like,
Mission
what
accomplished.
was the point?
We did.
Yeah.
And
And then
fans like watching the cage come down. That's
And
their big highlight.
then the show
It is
goes,
exciting when the cage comes down.
the show goes off the air with Funk branding K-Nash on the floor, setting up
that
their
is
match,
nice.
I guess. And that's it.
Yeah, so now on Sold Out, we can look forward to Bret Hart versus Sid for the world title,
Doesn't happen.
and Jeff Jarrett versus Chris Benoit for the U.S. title.
Doesn't happen.
All right.
So that's basically all she wrote for the last Vince Russo written Nitro for
For a little while.
about 3 months.
It's coming back better than ever.
It will come back. It's going to be interesting to see what we have over whether this is going to be better or worse.
Because
This,
between now and then, it's a weird revolving door of bookers.
there is Sullivan is kind of the head booker. I think Mike Graham is involved. Kevin Nash
Nash
is
gets
involved.
involved, yeah.
Bob Mould from Husker Du and Sugar
right.
is involved, which I'm a big fan of. I believe he does make one on-screen appearance as well.
Awesome.
You better believe I'm going to mark out for it. But yeah, I mean, this show felt like a million years, even though it was only 5 matches.
It's gonna be tough.
It's
so
going to be
much
rough.
talking.
It's
So much inane.
it's WCW in the year
bullshit
2000.
The old guys versus NWO promo was interminable.
Oh,
It was drunk Kevin Nash versus brain damaged Terry Funk, and just fucking up lines left and right for conservatively 45 minutes.
Yeah. So there you have it. We've made it to 2 weeks of the worst year of our life. Hopefully you're watching along with us. You've made it through 2 weeks as well. We got a big one coming up next week. The Radicals are all going to walk
Gone.
out. They're going to be gone. Sullivan takes over as booker. I'm sure there's
Sullivan.
probably going to be a tournament to decide who the new heavyweight champion's going to be.
Oh yeah, probably.
Because Benoit's going to win it on Sold Out and then not defend it.
Probably a one-night tournament with a bunch of 2-minute matches with no clean finishes.
Sounds about right. It's WCW in 2000. We don't really remember what's going to happen,
Nope.
but we're going to
I
watch
couldn't
it.
tell you for $1 million who the next
And
world champion is.
we're going to see how that goes. So until then, we'll see you next week.
All right, please, as always, go find some good wrestling to watch.
Don't. Hit the button. God, you're such a bitch.
I don't know why it goes black so fast.